So, if you're here, you're probably someone who has read about the SOC work, maybe watched some YouTube videos, maybe even done a try hack with room or two, and you still don't know actually what this job looks like on a day-to-day basis. And that's exactly what we are fixing right now. I'm Anubhav. I'm a threat analyst at Sophos. I work in the MDR team. I've done around 150 plus paid calls on TopMate, helping people and students and freshers break into this particular field. And in the next 40 minutes, I'm going to show you a real cyber attack investigation live exactly the way I do it at my workplace. No slides, no theory, just the actual work. So, to warm up the meeting, just drop me a one in a chat if you're a student, two if you're a fresher, and three if you're already working but you want to grow, just to get know about each other. Okay, great, great, cool. That's great. That's great. So, what I keep saying, or what I know about the students after finishing those calls, is students finish their degree, they get a certification, they build a home lab, and then they sit in a job interview, and the hiring manager says something like, "Tell me, how would you investigate a phishing alert?" And student freeze. Like it happened on me on a personal basis. And I know it could happen to a lot of you in the future. It's not because you don't know tools, or I didn't have any knowledge of tools, or I didn't have any certification. It was because me and you, we have through a real alert from start to finish. And that's the gap, and that's what we are going to close in the next 20 to 30 minutes. So I have two monitors as of now, and I'm screen sharing one of them. Just give me a moment. All right. So imagine this. It's 10 a.m. on a Monday morning, and this particular alert just came in. Uh, User compromised in adversary in the middle phishing attack. I have zero context, so let me show you exactly what I do. So first thing, whenever an alert comes in any sort of SIM dashboard, whether it's Sentinel or Central or Tejas, any SIM dashboard. So first thing, this is related to phishing attack. So what I'm looking at is what triggered this alert. So we have got an email. We have got an email here, which is flagged by a filter, and the subject line, "Your wallet has been blocked." It looks legitimate to me. But look at the sender domain. It's metamask.io, info@metamask.io. On a personal basis, I have no idea what MetaMask is. So I'm just going to Google it. So metamask.io. Okay. Okay. So it shows that it's related to some sort of cryptocurrency wallet related to Bitcoin and Ethereum stuff. So let's just move back to the email now. The subject is important. Your wallet has been blocked, which makes sense now because it's related to the cryptocurrency wallet stuff. Now let's just Google the customer care support of the MetaMask. MetaMask.io customer care. Customer care email. So we have the customer ID support at metamask.io. But if you look in our email domain, there's an extra A in our phishing email domain. So let's just use some motion tools to verify the legitimacy of this particular domain. And I'm going to navigate to VirusTotal. So VirusTotal is basically an OSINT tool, open search intelligence tool, built by community members like us to check the reputation of file hashes, IP address, domain, URLs, etc. So I'm just going to run it. So we were on the VirusTotal part. Uh, So the virus total basically shows that this is having a clear reputation, and okay, that's okay for me. What I'm going to do, I'm going to open my editor, notepad. Always, if you are in an MDR industry, in your blue team industry, threat analyst, reverse threat analyst, working in a SOC department, always make notes. It's one of the good industry practice to make notes that on whatever type of investigation you are doing. So we had a URL MetaMask, we had a domain, and it's having clean reputation as per VT. And I'm going to paste the VT link here. Great. So next thing I'm going to check, one second. As I was mentioning, I will just mention that the that the domain is having clean reputation. Then the next thing I'm going to check for DMAC records. So DMAC and SPF records are sender policy framework and domain-based message authentication reporting and conference. Those are basically DNS-based email security protocols that basically work to prevent any sort of phishing, spam, brute forcing, any sort of from this malicious domain. So I will just copy and paste the domain ID. I will just do MX lookup. I'm using MX Toolbox website for it, and let it load the results. And there is no DMAC record found for this, and its DMAC policy is also not enabled. So I will just mention the same in my notes section that no SPF DMAC record found. I will paste the same in the chat too. Great. So now what I'm going to do, I have the email. So I'm going to open this email via Notepad or any sort of editor. Any email is a sort of an EML file. If you download it, you can easily open it from a Notepad or any sort of editor. So once I open the email via Notepad, so just give me a moment. Great, here it is. So I have opened the email in my Notepad, and I'm just going to check for the sender IP. And in this case, we have the sender IP of 91.227.208.158. So I'm just going to use another OSINT tool, abused IP. This is a similar tool as of VirusTotal, and I will also run this particular IP address in the VirusTotal part 2. And the abused IP, once I mention it, the abused IP is having it's categorized this as in the categories of hacking, email spam, brute force, and other stuff. It's associated with the ISP APIS International AB, and it's geolocated at Sweden. So I'm just going to mention each and every stuff in here. Sender IP, sender IP is this, and always just make it a is industry standard that once we have an IP address or any sort of URL or domain, always defang it. So in case if you write a mail to customers and you want to escalate this particular incident to the customer, and if you don't defang it, the customer might, this can be a clickable link, and the customer might click this particular link, and the machine can get infected on the customer's end too. So always defang it. It's a good industry practice, and it's categorized under hacking, spam, and phishing. Okay, so now if you open the mail again, we see a redirection box. Press here to upgrade. So I will just copy this particular link, and I will paste the particular link in the VirusTotal again, and let's see what does it give the result. So this is associated with onelink.com. It's usually a redirect 300 redirect links. So it's having clean reputation. And one more thing, I would be using browser link. So browser link is basically a cross browser sandbox testing environment where you can check for where you can run any sort of URL or domain without even entering in your particular host machine. It's basically sandbox, so it's protected as of now. So If I just open this particular link, okay, let me refresh it. Let it run. All right. So, all right. So we have a new URL now that our old URL was redirecting to this particular URL. I'm not sure what it is. I will just defang it just for the sake of industry practices. And I want to make you guys do that from your starting itself so that you don't get messed up when you are working in a real life customer environment. So this is our URL. And again, I'm going to check in the VirusTotal what this particular URL say. So Twiza1.com, I have no idea what it is. It's a web address for Twiza, I suppose, and the path hotmail.com, which a particular user address or resource. And in this case, it appears that it's a direct link to a profile associated with this particular email address, hotmail.com. And the virus total is also having a highly malicious 8 out of 92 vendors have marked it as malicious. So it's a highly malicious reputation domain. And I will just mention it, malicious reputation as per VT. I'm going to paste this in the chat too. I'm not checking up the doubts as of now. I'm more focused on the investigation part. Once I've completed the investigation part, I will read the chat. So no worries about that. Now, the next thing. So for any sort of, if you're working in any sort of SIM dashboard, for example, we take Sentinel, Microsoft Sentinel. So to work in the Sentinel, you have to run some queries to get the event data. And query can be in any form, in any sort of queryable language, be it SQL, be it KQL, custom query language. So for example, if I work at Sophos, I am working on Dark by Central, or if I work at Secubus, I'm working at Tejas. So I have advanced search query functions there. So I have to run some queries to get that particular data from the endpoints devices. And in this case, the first thing I'm going to do, that we have received an email. So I'm going to check the email events database table. And to check that email events database table, I'm going to run a query. I'm going to run an email events query. Email query. And basically, this is just a sample query, and I'm just going to create it from email events where domain domain contains. We had a domain known as Twiza1 aggregate. If you know a basic knowledge of SQL, you would be understanding what I'm doing right now. Aggregate count by sender, address, receiver, address, subject, sender IP, DKIM, SPF, attachment, and action result. Okay. So if I just run this particular query, I would be getting my solution or my answer in the form of rows and columns in the form of an Excel format. So I've already prepared an Excel format for you guys right here. I'm just going to open it. Here it is. So if I have run this particular query, I would be checking, I would be getting all the email address, all the sender address, sender IP, subject, and everything. Whoever has the domain known as twiza1.com. So for our particular user, if you go back to the email, our particular user was karan.verma at acemcorp.in. So I will check this row number of column number 8. So karan.verma is present here, and I've received the email from info at MetaMask. with the subject line your wallet has been blocked with the sender with the sender IP and fail. And now we see an attachment. That's an Excel attachment. We haven't saw that Excel attachment in our sample email event, whatever the event was given to us. So this is new for us. I will just copy it and I will just paste it. Attachment is Excel payroll form excel.exe, and would paste it the same into the chat too. Okay, so this is the attachment. So whenever you are on a dashboard, in this case, it's Karan.Verma. This is a user. So for every user, there's a host associated with it. So let me rephrase it. Like if I'm working at my computer, I'm working at my endpoint, I'm working at my host. I have a host name as Manvavtar Sharma, the username, sorry. So every host is associated with the user, or every user is associated with the host. So in this case, we can just assume that Karan Verma has been associated with the let's just assume that once you search on your dashboard, you observe that Karan Verma is also associated with SM Corp WS042 hostname. Let's just assume it. I'm just assuming. And our email delivery time was 15 May at 6:44. This was our email delivery time. So what I'm going to check that for this particular host, ACM Corp WS042, I'm going to check all the process events that happened during our email delivered time. So I'm going to use a time frame of plus minus 1 hour. My basic concept to know to run this particular query is to know about the project tree, process tree, so that I can understand what all processes were started before our investigation, before the email event was delivered, and what our process was started after that email was delivered. So a sample process event query would be looks like something like same as it is from process where host is equal to sm corp the host name ws042 and aggregate count by, let's just say, timestamp, host, user, process name, parent process, path, and the risk level, and where time stamp between date time 2026 05:15 from 6, and I will make it till 7. I will check for the past 1 hours. Okay. So once I run this particular process event query, I will be getting an Excel something like this. And if I explain this Excel in a simple term, these are all the process that happened during the time frame of the email delivery time. And first of all, our outlook.exe was opened, which makes sense honestly, because email was delivered, so Outlook is open. Now the next part is we have an Excel command which is opening that payroll form Excel, the attachment. Now, now here comes the interesting part. We are getting PowerShell base 64 encoded command. So that's malicious. Like once an Excel is opened, follow-up was a PowerShell command, basic that to base 64. Post that we have some reconnaissance commands, whoami, ipconfig, and net user. So reconnaissance is basically that attacker is typing down some commands to check what all privileges it has on the infected host system, or what all network connections are present in the infected host system, whether it's an admin user or a normal user. So attacker is checking those. We have svc host 32.exe and a scheduled task creation. So that's also very malicious, very suspicious as of now. Next, we have a cert util that I missed, and it's establishing connection to an IP address. I have no idea what this particular domain is, or what this IP address is doing. So I will do some investigation on this IP address too. And post connection to this scheduled task is also getting created. And there's a beaconing too. Beaconing is basically command and control to this particular 185 IP address on the port 443. So what I'm going to do next is, I have this particular domain. I'm just going to the virus total again and check for its reputation. So this is having a highly malicious reputation. And now this whole case is getting into a too positive scenario, highly malicious. Okay. So you just getting the point that from where do we started? We first started from checking the email. We did first our initial triage, making sure what the sender IP is, making sure what the URL is. Once we know that the sender IP and the URL is having some sort of a malicious reputation, then we deep dive more onto the email events query. We checked who all users received those email and what is the host associated with that Karan Verma's machine. Then we checked the process events and we generated a process tree in our mind. So or if you're not able to visualize, I have already created a geo map for you guys. So first of all, explorer.exe is basically normal, basically a human hand is moving the mouse, explore.exe. If I just do it in the layman terms, and then an outlook.exe, which means email was opened. The payroll form attachment, Excel form attachment was opened through Excel. A macro execution was there, PowerShell base 64 encoded command, which is highly suspicious that it does not happen on a normal basis. Then some reconnaissance command were ran, whoami net config. Post that, certutil, making a connection to a highly malicious IP address. It was suspicious. And post that, some scheduled tasks, registry events, those were generated. So everything is looking suspicious as of now. So I'm just going to paste all of this stuff into the chat again. Great. So I have an IP address here, 185, 220, and 42, and it's having highly malicious reputation. So the next thing is I'm going to look for C2 connections, command and control connections. I'm going to check for the network logs. And before I show you my network logs, I want to make sure everyone understands what C2 actually means, because this is a part most of the students know as a buzzword and but have never seen in a real data. C2 stands for command and control. Once the malware is running on Karan Verma's machine, in this case, it needs a way to talk back to the attacker's machine. Just think of it like a phone call. The implant is sitting on the victim's machine, Karan Verma's machine, which is waiting. The attacker server is on the other hand end listening, and every few minutes the implant is checking up like, I'm still here, do you have any instructions for me? It's checking up with the attacker's machine, server machine, and this check-in pattern is known as beaconing, and it's one of the most reliable ways we as a threat analyst detect active malware in network logs. So let me just show you how a network log looks like. Suppose I'm running a network event query, and let's suppose the query is something like this, and I would be checking for the time frame of like 3 hours, 3 hours or something, to check for proper beaconing effect. I'm not running the query for just 1 hour. I will be checking for 3 hours. So network events where @host contains aggregate count by timestamp, host, source IP, and destination IP, port, protocol, domain, and action. And I'm going to run it for like 9 hours. Great. For 3 hours time. Now, so once I'm on the network event sheet, I just want you to look at the destination IP column. Just look at it. Just observe it. You see 185.220.101.442, that IP address that we showed in our process events C2 beaconing. This IP shows multiple time. Now just look at the timestamp. It's 7 o'clock, 7:05, 7:10, 7:15, 7:20, 7:25, 7:30. These are seven connections. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven connections exactly 5 minutes apart every single time. And this is not a human being browsing the internet. We don't Humans don't connect to the same server every 3 seconds exactly. This is a sort of a program, that precision is done by a program, and that is the implant checking up. Now just look at the domain here. Just look at the domain here for these rows. It's C2 beacon and https twiza1.com and with that same Hotmail Hotmail email address. Same attacker domain that sent the phishing email. They are not even hiding it that hard, to be honest. And the port is 443. It's because 443 because it's HTTPS and it's allowed through almost every corporate firewall. The attacker is disguising its command and control C2 traffic as a normal web traffic. And this particular term is called port masquerading. Now, just look at the rows, first one and the last one. These are green rows. Basically, this is connecting to Microsoft and a monitoring service. So I can already see that this machine has both normal traffic and malicious traffic running simultaneously. And honestly, the user has no idea if anything is wrong here. So I will just open up my notes and I would mention beaconing found on IP address and 5-minute interval and 7 connections. Host is active. Host is active means connections are still getting made to this particular IP address. I would paste the same into the chat right here.